This is Big Bez, the van that we live in. 3 years ago, we turned this motorbike transport van that we bought for £2,000 into our home. She's taken us all over the UK and Europe, and we always get questions asking how do we afford this? But before that, let's take you back to the start and why we live in a van in the first place.
Just felt lost in life. I applied for a part-time job. Let's just do it. Let's just change it up.
We're going to be completely honest here.
We got paid for one job on Instagram. So, if you're new here, I'm Bill and this is Leanne. We met about 11 years ago in the same town that we grew up in. About 5 years ago, we were both working normal jobs. I was barbering and Leanne was working in retail. In 2019, we had the urge to travel, so we booked a one-way ticket to Thailand. After spending 3 months traveling around Thailand, Cambodia and Bali, we'd got the bug. We loved our trip and we had some amazing memories. We had such a good time. So we decided to go back, save up for another whole year and head back to Thailand to see how far we could explore on the money we had saved.
We left on the 12th of February 2020, and as you know, this was a significant year for all of us. After 3 weeks of normal travelling, the Big C really started to kick off.
China has identified the cause of the
mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
But little did we know how long that we would be stuck out there for.
We were on an island in the south called Koh Lanta. We'd been there about a week and we'd already made some friends. One night we headed off to the local bar because all the bars and restaurants were still open at this point, and the police chief turned up and started shouting at all of us. We literally didn't know what was going on.
We went back to the hotel and within a few days everything started changing. Like the hotel started putting all of the sun lounges away, the chairs away, the beach was covered up. So we were like, what is going on here?
Airlines are cancelling flights, bookings have collapsed, and many of those who have booked aren't showing up.
It was really hard to book a flight at this time and we'd already lost about £1,000, so we thought, fuck it. Let's just stay in Koh Lanta and see if we can survive the lockdown.
So in order to stay on the island, government rules were that we needed to find a place that was self-sufficient with kitchen facilities. So us and our friends frantically drove around the island trying to find somewhere with kitchen facilities, otherwise we would have ended up at a quarantine hotel. And after almost giving up, we finally found a place.
We built up a really close relationship with the Thai family who owned the apartments that we were staying in, and they were living right next door to us. We had an amazing time and we turned a negative situation into a positive, but we knew at some point we had to return back to the UK.
And we did return back to the UK 5 months later to a full-blown lockdown.
That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home.
At this point we were feeling hopeless with no direction, and it was by chance that our first van, Little Donny, came up for sale. And that's when we had the idea that travel doesn't need to stop, it just means that we will explore our own country instead.
We borrowed money from my sister to purchase the van, and then from the sale of my car we used that to pay her back and renovate Little Donny.
Weekends away turned into weeks away, which eventually turned into us living in the T4 in the summer of 2020. Restrictions are finally lifted in the UK, so that means we can actually travel now.
At this point I was still working barbering full-time in Essex, and in the evenings we was going to a local dogging spot to sleep because that was the only spot that was close to us.
Glamorous.
During that time we'd planned for our trips and adventures on the weekend.
So after absolutely loving all of our trips in the little van, we started an Instagram account. Some of you may remember Donatella Vansace was our original Instagram name. We shared all of our travels in between work across the UK, and this is exactly what made us fall in love with van life. In the summer of 2021, we decided to take a huge risk.
We sold Leanne's car and Little Donny to purchase a beat up old rusty VW LT35 from an industrial estate. This was the first big van that we had looked at, but we knew straight away that it was the one. We didn't quite realise how much work she really needed. We ended up paying £2,000 for Big Bez, and we drove her straight back to my parents' driveway on the same day.
We spent the next 6 months renovating Big Bez. We had £7,000, and with us making a lot of costly mistakes and the engine needing a complete overhaul, we got to a livable standard and hit the road with no cupboard doors. At this point we were all in. We were going to live in Big Bez for the foreseeable future, and we would do whatever it takes to make travel and adventure our lifestyle. During this time we were still sharing the ups and downs of the build and our adventures on Instagram and YouTube.
Fast forward to April 2022, we're still working full time and saving each week just to go on our weekend adventures. We then went on a trip which would change our lives overnight. We had a South Coast road trip planned, and I'd woke up one morning and I just had a gut feeling that something needed to change. I was losing my passion for barbering and just felt lost. And like all of us, I still needed to pay bills and pay off the debt that we had racked up in Thailand. After growing up and working in the same town for our whole life, we just had the urge to switch it up. So I applied for a part-time job cutting hair in Cornwall. Leanne had never even been to Cornwall, but I had as a kid on holiday, so I thought, let's just do it. Let's just change it up and try somewhere different. After not even getting the job in Cornwall, we decided there and then to head down there, and we were going to make this work no matter what.
Bill has contacted a few barbershops in Cornwall, so hopefully this will be like the start of a whole new situation
Chapter
for us. Yeah, it's like basically a whole lifestyle change.
The guy that I messaged about the barbershop job is in St Ives, so we're about an hour away. No, about 2 hours away actually from there, but I think we should get a little bit closer. Luckily, on the way, I got the interview and I had to be there for the next morning at 9 AM. So after driving pretty much across country, we turned up to St Ives at about 9 o'clock to find a place to stay for the night.
Next morning, Bill went off to do his interview, and my first impressions of Cornwall was literally an abandoned gravel car park. At this point, I was left jobless, I had no direction, and I didn't know if this was the right choice. But Bill finished his interview, got the job, and he decided to take me to my first ever Cornish beach. I will literally never forget when we came round the corner and see Portmere Beach. I have never seen water so blue. Being from Essex, I'm used to the River Thames, so this was something I had never seen before in the UK. We're both buzzing to be in Cornwall for the summer. We have got a seasonal job to get us by. The first few months were difficult, trying to find park-ups, breaking down, and also the peak summer season of Cornwall meant that getting around in Big Bez was near on impossible. And that's where we found where we are currently, but we'll get into that later in the video.
So with me working a part-time barbering job and Leanne working on the weekends and still trying to pay off our debts and our bills, it did get pretty tough. We were literally skint at some points, weren't we?
Like 50p in our account. It was dire.
After our first summer season working and enjoying the summer in Cornwall, we scraped enough money together to go on a winter road trip to Scotland.
And this is where things went crazy. So I had an idea to post a video on Instagram. We decided we were going to daily vlog our entire Scottish adventure, and it literally blew up.
It did go absolutely crazy.
Literally over, it was just nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first leg of our trip, it was just growing and growing. Every time we opened the app, we was like screaming at each other. We just hit 100k! What the f is going on?
Went from 6k to 160k overnight, and this skyrocketed all of our other platforms. It was just insane.
So my favourite part about this whole series was that we showed the real and raw truths to van life, and we got to take all of you along with us for the ride as well.
So we obviously knew people were making money on social media, but we had no clue how, and we had no idea of how to even go about that.
And we hadn't earned any money despite blowing up so quickly. We were literally clueless. So after hours of research, we managed to find out a little bit about how you could monetize this so we could keep traveling and keep sharing. So we scraped together a rate card and a media kit. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like a little portfolio of what you do, and a rate card is your prices for certain services like an Instagram post or a story.
Before we knew it, we had our first email for our first paid collaboration.
Our first job, we charged £50 for a post on Instagram, and that was mind-blowing. We could not believe that we were getting paid to post a photo.
Now, this was absolutely mental. We never thought we would even get paid to post anything online. It's still mind-blowing to this day, really.
It's nuts.
So doing a few more little jobs and looking into it a little bit more and speaking to people that we know were doing similar things, we realised that we were massively undercharging to what everyone else was.
So after our Scottish road trip, it was time to head back to Cornwall and start our seasonal jobs. At the end of that summer, with Bill full-time working and me posting every single day on all of our platforms, we got an email for our first huge job. We're going to be completely honest here. This is literally just to inspire you that you can do whatever you want. And this was within a year of posting on social media.
So we got paid 8 grand for one job on Instagram.
Mate, it's actually crazy.
And when we got that email through, best believe we were celebrating. It was mental. We'd never thought in a million years we'd ever get to a point where we could make decent money out of posting online.
I never even thought we'd get paid to post online, let alone that amount of money. It was honestly insane, like a dream come true. We had to just keep pinching ourselves.
Yeah, it was crazy. And this isn't to say that every job we get or everything we do is that amount of money. This is a one-off kind of job, but this just confirmed that this was the right path that we was on, and that we wanted to carry on creating and sharing content with everyone on our channels. Genuinely one of the craziest moments in our life so far.
We could not have done this without you guys. It literally solidified that we could make this work, like we could do content full time. PSA, this is one of our highest paid jobs. We definitely do not get paid that for every single collaboration, but this was just literally a pinch me moment. It was crazy.
After 2 years of living in Big Bez full time, a lot of things had broken, including our shower, which has only just been repaired again.
For a whole summer, we was using a portable dog shower.
This allowed us to head back to my parents' driveway where we could get Big Bez into shape again. And obviously we'd racked up a huge amount of debt over the last couple of years, so we was luckily able to pay that off. So after this, we'd planned to go on a 3-month road trip around Europe, and we'd planned to also vlog this daily on YouTube, but that didn't happen because we was just enjoying the trip too much and
we was loving it out there, mate. So after 3 months of our Europe road trip, our platforms were still growing. So this meant that when we got back, I could take on our social media full time with Bill working part time, of course.
So let's get to now. So we're currently still in Cornwall, I'm still barbering, and we're still creating content every day. This year I've not had to work as much, which means I can put more effort into making more YouTube videos to share with you guys. This is just the start of our journey, and we have got so much planned, and we're going to be taking you along with us the whole way. So subscribe now to get a new video every week.
Thank you so much for watching, and just to say a huge thank you for being such a massive part of our lives for the last 2 years. Having a community to ask advice and just coming along with us on every single journey is absolutely priceless, and we're just so grateful. Exciting, and we're just so grateful to have you all along with us for every adventure.
So we're going to carry on making content and keep on sharing. See you on the next one.
See you next week. This is just to say we really hope this doesn't come across braggy. Whatever you want to do, just do it and start creating. Because if you don't take any risks, it might never happen.